Put your money where your mouth is. The funny thing about productivity, about dedication, about creativity is you get 10 times of what you give. Employee benefits are a big thing. The more somebody cares, doesn't have to worry about their healthcare costs, doesn't have to worry about daycare, doesn't have to worry about the little things, the more time they have to focus. And that focus, that dedication, that comes back in spades. You can't buy that.
Welcome to the Intangible Brand, where we explore the connection between employee experience and client experience and the hidden forces that make brands stick. I'm Gennaria, and I'm joined by my co-host, Carl Winstead. And today, our guest is Jeff Sample. Jeff is the Senior Industry Development Manager for Trades at Bluebeam, where he leads initiatives that empower specialty contractors, particularly those within the MEP trades, to thrive in an increasingly digital construction landscape. With over 25 years' experience in IT, operations, and construction tech, Jeff is known for breaking down silos and delivering real-world solutions that align strategy, field execution, and those pesky financial outcomes. Jeff is also known as the Iron Man of IT, which I think is fascinating, and he's the co-host of the ConTechCrew podcast, which has been helping construction companies geek out on technology since 2016. So I think that means you're about to hit your 10-year anniversary, or you just did. But Jeff, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jerry. I appreciate it. And Carl, thanks. We're about to hit that 10-year mark. I can't believe it. Podcasting wasn't a thing back then, but we've made it. So
Yeah.
we're there.
Well, we are about to hit our 1-year mark, so we aspire to be just like you.
Yeah. Oh, well, Jeff, again, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. You represent a product that I use every day, so I'm very interested to sort of see how this conversation goes. But why don't we start with a little bit of context? Maybe you could walk us through your role at Bluebeam and the path that kind of led you into the people side of construction technology. That's kind of where culture, workflows, and how teams actually work together.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll go back. So we were talking about a pre-show. I live in the mountains of Colorado. So experience has been my thing. 30 years ago, moved here to enjoy myself for a little bit and then found my career in IT and IT architecture, and had a wonderful run. And at some point in the process, jumped over to software development, and learned how things got built. And it was a really eye-opening experience to come from one side to the other. And at that 10 years ago, I found myself looking for a new role, and I found a masonry contractor here in Vail, Colorado, that I went to work for as the IT director. And Carl, that's where the Bluebeam story kind of starts, but
Okay.
it doesn't come full circle for a while. So the first tool, I'll be honest, I got into construction and I really didn't think I was going to be here for that long. I really thought that maybe the tools, the technology, the industry wasn't for me. I was sorely mistaken. That came in two ways. I met the people who were building the world around us and got
Mhm.
this unbelievable sort of insight into how much it goes into building something that we take for granted. You walk into any building, any storefront, and you don't realize how many people it took and how much coordination and how much headache it probably caused along the way. So that opened it up, but also I worked for a CEO who was from the field. It was a company that was built by an immigrant that had a passion for masonry and he grew it from the ground up. And we never let that go. It was field first. It was focus on the teams. And so I had the unique experience to go out and meet them all. And the first tool somebody brought me was Bluebeam.
Mm.
And I have to say that opened my eyes to just how many little things were dragging us down from the experience in the industry for people. From driving from job site to the office to pick up a folder and drive back, right? And do your
Yeah.
coding. And, for those that aren't construction folks, everything has to be coded. And every I dotted and T crossed. So we implemented Bluebeam to solve the problem of driving 3 hours, and people could drive home and pull it up and work on stuff and not be stuck driving that 3 to 6 hours sometimes. We live in the mountains, so driving around is a pain. So, that was my first experience, and we got wide adoption, but I also figured out that, that philosophy of field first, like, I played on the softball team, and the folks that looked at the IT person as, office and, not approachable, all of a sudden could approach me because I was the really clumsy second baseman that they just had on because they needed somebody. And, so yeah, that brought me to 3 years there, still very close with the company. I decided I wanted to move on into the rest of the software world because I thought construction and what it was doing, was an awesome opportunity. So, went through a few startups, some consulting and other things along the way, and about a year ago, it's actually a year ago right now, I landed at Bluebeam,
Hmm.
doing what I do here on exactly what, you talked about, the workflows, the people, how this not just this product, right? It's not about that's what's beautiful about my job here is it's really not just about Bluebeam. I represent them, and of course, I love the tool and I want people using it, but it's about solving complex construction project problems and construction company problems, and they are all entangled. So that's me in a nutshell and how I got here to Bluebeam. I do focus on the trades given that I came from a masonry contractor and have spent a lot of time in my private consulting days with mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors. That's my specialty, but I don't forget about, architects, engineers, GCs. I spent a short period of time or a good chunk of time learning those workflows because I think that whole IT to software and software back to IT taught me the best thing you can do in any industry is walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. Figure out what are their problems? What are they facing? Like, if we sit at the table and I understand you better, we're all in a better place. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Great.
that's
Well, we appreciate the work you're doing. It does make our life a lot easier.
and I think you set us up perfectly for the first thing I wanted to explore, which is employee experience. You talk about walking a mile in someone's shoes, and I think where you sit with technology, it's maybe less about the tech and more about the people, the culture, how the industry is adopting things. So how let's start with some definitions from your perspective. How would you define employee experience in this AEC context? What does it include, maybe beyond the obvious things?
this is where, it really what it just to understand what it takes for an employee in this industry. And now again, I focus on the field, right? I focus on the people doing the work.
Right,
And we're never gonna get out of it being dirty and it's construction, right? There
right,
there there is certain things that I don't wanna control, right? A lot of these, people didn't get into the industry to work in an office. They got in the industry to install work and get work done. They're
mhm,
also craftspeople.
right,
And so you have to embrace that experience from the beginning and understand that that's what drives them, right? It doesn't drive them to code things and do paperwork. We're all motivated because we want to get paid and, we want the company to do well that we're working for so we can keep doing it.
right,
But it it is everything, man, from your PTO and how you can get access to your own information mobily, consume it where you are. Again, if I can save you an hour of even having to pick up a call or ask somebody else for something you should have at your fingertips, people go home tired. They wanna take a day off. They should be able to access that PTO through their phone, figure out when they wanna do it, request it, and get a day off, right? They should be able to look, in our world, so much of the technology was built for an office. And so we just think like everybody's behind a keyboard, everybody's comfortable typing, everybody's doing those things. That that's not true when it comes to somebody who's in the field, somebody who's in the trailer, somebody who's
mhm,
out installing work. They have gloves on. Please wear your gloves and you have safety, you have a hard hat
right,
on, you've got, safety glasses on. It's not just, whip out your laptop. That's that
mhm,
no. So understand the work that's being done and where it's being done and how. I remember this early on. I had a conversation with somebody who said, "We're gonna go all digital." And then they did time studies and realized going all digital made them a lot slower because pecking on an iPad takes a lot longer than
Right.
filling it out, scanning it, and going, right? So,
Mhm.
Mhm.
just because you can doesn't mean you should, and to me, employee experience comes down to how much can you actually understand of what the people in your organization go through on a daily basis,
Mhm.
and most companies don't do that well.
Mhm.
There's a barrier in some way, shape, or form, known or unknown. I don't think many companies, there are some, rule a certain way, and it is what it is. I think most are just unaware because there's so many moving parts and pieces. So that's sort of to me, employee experience is everything from your onboarding and how many times you have to type something in and how easy it is to get your PTO and getting your paycheck and knowing it's right and being able to access those support systems that you need. Understand that you can articulate problems. You hear this, "Oh, don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution." I say,
Mhm.
if that's your culture, you got it all wrong.
Mhm.
Come to me with a problem and be open to a conversation, that's
Mm.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because
yeah,
you may
that's to
not
me
be
what it is.
equipped. You may not be equipped to be able to offer a solution. Right. I think
Yeah, but
I
it
think
doesn't
you're
mean it's
right.
not a problem.
Right,
Right. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. Let's kind of keep on that path of the employee experience and how it relates to, say, our to brands. Kind of throughout your career, it sounds like you've worked on both how teams operate internally and also how companies show up externally. Thinking about connections, where do you see that strongest connection between the employee experience that we're just talking about and then the brand that a firm builds in an industry?
Um, I think this is ubiquitous and probably the best place anybody can take a look. Construction is great about exposing it too,
Mm,
because for everybody listening, like, there's so many people involved, so many companies involved in a single project, no matter if it's a tenant improvement, a commercial building, a road and bridge project, doesn't matter. There's so many people. So your internal culture shows up how your people interact externally,
mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
If it is, if you say inside, "Oh, it's all these sunshines, it's all these roses, we let our people," and you have this outside brand, and then when you show up, you're adversarial, you're, pencil whipping every little thing, you're looking over top of people and using the contract or other things as a weapon
Mhm.
instead of a guideline, it comes out.
yeah.
Your
Yeah.
people will know, and they talk behind your back. Don't think they don't.
Mhm.
They're like, "Oh, this company has this on their brand statement and this in their experience, but every time we work with them,
Yeah.
this is what we actually get." And I
Mhm.
think that's the number one way brand and sort of culture shows up. I think
Yeah.
that's true any brand. I mean, if you're selling software to a customer, you know, everybody's smiley and happy in the sales process. But once we get to implementation and once we get to a problem,
Yeah.
how do you show up? Do you tell them to fill out a support ticket and see you later?
Yeah.
Or do you take that accountability and really help your customer and solve it? It shows right up there. It's pretty easy if you're willing to look at it and have those difficult discussions. You'll see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and it's how you build that relationship, right? And, I
yeah.
mean, I think in construction, a lot of times, you kind of come together as a team for a project and then you leave and you may not have that same team again. So kind of to me, one of the really hallmarks is like how can you build that sort of that team for that one project and get things done and then move on to another team, but the thread of how you do that each time, how you repeat that success really becomes important. We have a project right now where the job superintendent in Louisiana, once a month, basically the job superintendent actually cooks lunch for everybody on the job site. Now that's one way to, win somebody through their stomach. That's a great way to do that.
Well, and showing up and caring, right? Getting
Yeah.
out and
Right.
walking around, listening to them. People talk a lot more over food than they do over anything else or fun in general, right? Like, I'm a big fan of fun, but I think there's a misnomer too in it that, like, then you can't hold people accountable. You have to
Right.
be
Mhm.
fun, you have to be accepted. No. This is like raising your kid. There's an amount of freedom, an amount of experience, but there's accountability and there's guardrails that are up, right? We're
Mhm.
still companies. The culture, I had a friend on recently. The the business does not serve the culture serves the business. And
Mm.
it's a very powerful mind shift to realize, look, that means things are gonna go wrong. People
Right.
are gonna make mistakes. How you hold them accountable and work with them, that's your differentiator, right?
Right.
Everybody's sunshine and roses over some barbecue at the job
Yeah.
site. When the material's not there and there's a crew standing around with their, their hands in their pockets, well, now we know what what's really going on. Do you come down? Do you scream? Do you yell?
Yep.
Or do you approach and say, "Hey, what's the problem? What can we do about it? What are some options and opportunities?" And boom, we work together. Now, by the way, in a job site, what's the difference between a problem and a decision? How soon you tell me.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
if I got 18 months to and I know it's gonna be a problem, if I've got 2 months, 3 months time, and as soon as you saw it, you come to me, great. And I think that's true in any business no matter where you are, right?
Yeah.
It's the empowerment of the employee to raise concerns at the earliest moment
Yeah.
and engage in hey, maybe they don't solve them, right? They like you said, Jerry, we're not all equipped to solve every problem, but if I can raise it,
Right.
then at least we knew about it, didn't hit us out of the blue.
Yeah. Well, and I
Yeah.
think that that experience that you're seeing on that job site as teams are interacting with other firms, with the client, all of that can only be reflective of the culture that exists inside the firm. You're not it's really hard to be one thing internally and be something else externally. The internal's going to bleed out into the external.
The cracks will show eventually. You're good
Yeah.
for the first 3 weeks, but, after
Right.
that, the cracks are gonna show up.
Yeah, while you're on your best behavior.
Mhm.
Um, so I imagine when you are thinking about software in particular, there's a lot of impact on culture and change management and transformation. And I think sometimes those concepts can feel a little bit abstract, particularly in a world that is very, pardon the pun, concrete, like construction. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, how do you make culture and transformation something that's tangible inside of a company, something that people both in the office and on the job site are actually able to interact on and act on, in a day-to-day kind of capacity.
Alright, that's a complicated one, and I think I'm gonna enjoy this one, because it's twofold.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you've gotta understand your business. I don't care who you are and what you do, there's a reason why you do it.
Mhm.
And why is the main pillar of your existence. It is not just the words you put on the wall. It is truly why you exist. And being honest about that is really important. Like you said, Jerry, it's hard to show up as two different people with two different sides. It just doesn't work. The cracks will show. So, look, you could be a culture business, you could be a growth business, you could be, there's a number of different things. And what you do is sort of what you do, but why you do it.
Mhm.
If you can focus as a group around that why you exist, and this is the core small leadership team that is driving the company. Obviously, it gets bigger as you get bigger, but the person in charge must understand that and it must be clear and then clearly communicated, but then also then made actionable.
Mhm.
So I had a good leader around me early that said, listen, it's not what I can do, it's what I can empower those in my circle around me to do. If
Mhm.
I can show up, represent this identity and this why, and I can communicate that in how I want that delivered. Again, that level of autonomy, but accountability. Again, your business might be a little bit more regulated, so
Mhm.
there's going to be more guardrails. But again, you can still show up with flexibility and creativity, and you can, be true to that brand. So if you're true at the center and that bolds out to everybody, and you hold true, then it's going to work. And that's where you have to look for those people inside of your organization that are showing up to your face one way and not to the teams on the other. And that's where how do you really make this tangible? It's when you, as the leader, the owner, the CEO, whatever you might be, gets out and interacts, talks, creates an environment in which feedback is not only welcomed, it's collected.
Mhm.
It has to be done. The larger you are, it needs to be done systematically. But then also have that coffee, show up at that job site, pull them aside, and have discussions, open discussions, and see that what you're building at the top is actually going out everywhere you need it to be, because that's
Right.
change is hard. If
Mhm.
it wasn't, we wouldn't have shows, we wouldn't do it. Carl and I would just say, "Hey, I want this group to work like this." And Jerry, you'd say, "Look, if you just tell people to do this, it's done."
Right.
That's not how it is. Change is hard. It's difficult. You're asking a journeyman electrician or a master electrician who's been doing this for 20 plus years. Hey, I need you to do something different.
Mhm.
Do you know how it feels? You feel stupid learning anything new. You are not stupid, and that is something that I want technology people. And this is why I think my career and my brand is what it is, because I'm not the smartest guy in the room, never have been. And I'm really not as technical as most of the people I work with. They're far more technical. They're
Mhm.
just not empathetic, and they don't understand
Mhm.
that the person between the chair and the keyboard or the, iPad, is a human,
Right.
and they have an expertise I do not have.
Mhm.
Now, I used to joke about this with my masonry guys because they would say, "Oh, why are why are you like this? You're the smart one." I'm like, "I'm not the smart one. Ask me to build something, you'll condemn it.
Mhm.
I cannot build it." But I can help you, and I
Right.
could be empathetic, and I can meet you where you are, and I can understand that that change is hard. You it's your job, man. This is how you get paid. This is how you feed your family, and your craftspeople are prideful. So now you're asking them to do something that makes them feel stupid? Give them space.
Yeah.
And then I learned this early, and I love to be on a microphone, and I love to be on a stage, and I love people. But my 150 superintendents at the masonry contractor were not listening to me because I'm not them.
Mhm.
So it took people who were having the success and putting them in a place and realizing it's not about me, it's about them, and connecting with someone they know who can say to them, "I hated this.
Mhm.
By the way, I have broken it like 6 times. World didn't come to an end. Nobody killed me for it. Here's what I went through." All of a sudden they go, "Oh, if you can do it, I can do it."
Mhm.
There's this barrier you're breaking
Mhm.
down.
Yeah.
So change management goes to people and understanding and empathy for the process itself and understanding that it's hard.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to buy the product, hit the easy button, and the company's where it needs to be. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
AI's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever gonna do that. That's not coming for you.
Right. It's not about the technology at the end of the day, it's about the humans that are using the technology. I think that's one of the
Yep.
things that gets overlooked so often in implementations. It's about people first and last. We
Mhm.
have to build things for them, and we have to build processes to help them actually learn how to use it, understand. And I think it's interesting you're talking about finding if we're in the branding world, we might call them the champions, or in the marketing world, we might call them influencers, but they're the peers that are just slightly further along in the journey than everybody else. And they're so much more credible than we are as the so-called experts about the technology or about the change that's supposed to be in place. I love that.
Yeah. Well, it's about, like, the early adopters, right? Who's
Yeah,
adopting it versus who's preaching about it or talking about it.
right.
So, um
See, now I'll go with Jerry here, and Carl, I'm gonna go a little because I love to be a little bit of a contrarian. The evangelists in your company, the tech forward people in your company, stay away from them. Use them to help you find things, but find those curmudgeons, find
Mm,
those, uh, laggards, so to speak, not the full Luddite,
Mm.
but the
Okay.
laggard,
Yeah.
and bring them on board because, by the way, they've seen that same person do that new app like 30 times, they don't trust them at all. Plus, those guys go home at night and play around with apps and seamless their food everywhere, and they're like, "Blah, we do everything." No, you gotta get the laggard. They will bring it along, and to your point, Jerry, it's people, it's process, and then it's technology. Any other order does not work, right?
Yeah.
If you have an inefficient process and you put good technology on it, the only thing good about it is you get to the bad state faster.
Right.
Um, so and it is about people. But the interesting thing too that you brought up there, Jerry, that I want, people listening on the leadership side to understand is a process has, say, 10 steps.
Mhm.
It's good to know those 10 steps. It's good to know why they exist. But you don't actually have to do all 10 of those steps in the future. It's about understanding what you're getting out of that process to get from 1 to 10 and getting from 1 to 10 faster with all the same, data or, validation or anything along the way.
Yep.
That's technological innovation and advancement.
Yep.
That could be as easily as I used to have to print something to a printer. I used to have to do something with it and then tag, say, a rack or something. And
Mhm.
now it comes right out of the cutter and I can hit it on there. I just saved 5 steps, but I didn't eliminate
The outcome.
all the things I needed to do, the outcome. So I
Yeah.
wanna challenge people to understand that too, because that goes to brand, leadership, culture, business, is understanding why you exist.
Mhm.
It's not what you do, right?
Yep.
Electricians, mechanicals, they used to be all stick, all in the field all the time.
Yep.
That's shifting. We're more
Right.
manufacturers.
Yep.
GCs used to be master builders. You cannot be a master builder anymore. You're a master orchestrator. You have to have
Mhm.
visibility over it. Designers, your world is changing. Architects, your world is changing. Same with engineers. But understand why you exist and what the process looks like and what the end goals are and how can you get there faster.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't leave you alone on the influencers. Everybody's wondering why influencers are so important, and I know when they hear it, they think about the TikTok people
Yeah.
and I sell
Yep.
sunscreen or I sell, whatever other thing, but you're truly right. The reason marketing efforts through influencers that are done correctly, right?
Mhm.
That are true users, that are true they're like you said, sometimes they're not even ahead of you. Sometimes they're behind you. They're just willing to get on a camera
Yep.
and say, "Man, I tried for an hour to get this thing to work. Let me speed up the video so you don't have to do that."
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, now I'm ready. All
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So, and I think all brands, especially technology and construction brands, need to understand and embrace that.
Yeah.
Build the people around you.
Yeah.
If you're a designer, Carl, in your world, you wanna land work. You
Yep.
don't know who's following one of your people on social media, and they're talking about the jobs that they do. They're talking about who they work for, and people connect with that, and that's relationships. It's just in a digital medium, like, people get like, "Oh, it's influence." No, it's still a relationship. It's still gonna come down to we have to sit at the table. We
Yep.
have to we have to, estimate the project. We have to team up together. We're gonna do those things, but marketing, brand, get it out there, but it has to be authentic, man,
Mm.
and you
Yeah.
know that. It's real easy not to be authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah. I'm intrigued about something, thinking about construction, and we all know that the most basic element in construction is Legos, right? Um, I'm intrigued because I think you're known for actually using Legos as a way to influence design thinking.
Mhm,
Think global, act local, because you're talking about change, and I think it's interesting. Like, how do we talk about change, and how do we, especially we get in a room of AEC professionals. So I'm curious your kind of approach with Legos and this think global, act local. How does that work for us as a group of AE professionals? That's different than if I'm making a presentation in our meeting on a whiteboard.
mhm. So, I have been really lucky, and so over time, I think the number one thing I'm telling you guys on taking feedback and learning and really rethinking your approach. About 5 years ago now, someone approached me, and I speak professionally. I love the stage. I've done MC work. I've done my own presentations. I really dove into it. Obviously, the podcast gave me a lot of opportunity. But I was sitting there with a guy during COVID and said, like, we're just hashing through everything, and I've been very lucky to have people ask the hard questions, check your ego, right? I've been doing
Mhm.
this for 10 years. I have a big following. I know it can go to your head real easy. So don't. Stay true, stay, open to listening. And I said, I've been doing these talks forever. I love these." And a friend of mine said, "Yeah, but how many times have you given that one?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, 20? And you're still giving it, huh? How much is that really changing the world?" And I went, "Oh, okay. That hurt. Thanks a lot." I inspired a lot of people, but I helped them run straight into a wall because there was no tools. It was
Mm,
about the person on the stage. That was the other thing, is this person understood. His name's Charlie Dunn, and there's a few of them, Christina and, Nathan Wood and a few others, that we just sort of coalesced around this. They introduced me to the Lego thing. Um And we realized that it again, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I was trying to tell other people's stories. And I realized through this that the collective intelligence in the room is far more powerful than anything I have to say to you.
mm.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it to you. If you get, we used to say, if I touch one person, great. But I probably, the other 99% just ran into a wall when they left. And now they're going to take a step back.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And there is barriers to ideation or whatever you wanna call it, design thinking, and the Legos are literally just a flow state hack. Because once you start to use your hands, once you start to play, everybody smiles and has a little bit of fun, and that fun should be key to the learning experience. It unlocks things in your head. And all I do is simply, and I've adapted these things, and there is a thing called Lego Serious Play. I am not certified in it. I have friends who are. I have sort of just adapted to it. I take to it well. I love it. Um, and you give them an opportunity to play with the Legos in the beginning to open up. And Carl, you talked about this. We go from project to project, and every project team has to go storming, norming, performing, right? There,
Yeah.
you can't skip that.
Yeah.
But how do you hack it? Well, you hack it by getting to know one another,
Mm.
right? So, the first thing I do in a lot of them, and it's a Lego Serious Play, is like, "Hey, build a Lego that sort of describes you, and then talk to each other about it." And all of a sudden, they're in this good moment, and it's a collaborative moment, and then you give them something to do. And to be honest, that's something to do. That's the trick. It's not really that important. Um, I use certain ones, and we have built certain ones over time that help us, get to say rapid prototyping or to get to understanding. This is where, Jerry, you get the think global, act local. It's like
Mhm.
ask a group almost, and I can almost, guarantee what's going to come up when I ask a group of AEC professionals, what's the biggest problems facing construction today?
Sure.
Right? You take that and you boil it down and you get the 4 or 5, however many tables you've got, topics, and you give each of them a topic and you let
Mhm.
them build a Lego to represent it.
Mm.
It does not matter if that Lego is just a straight up tall tower or whatever.
Yeah. It's about the
It's
conversation.
about
Yeah.
it's about the conversation. And it's about understanding. You asked, how does culture show up? If you can be inquisitive,
Mhm.
Mhm.
if you can understand that, like, listen, as a GC, I don't know the first thing about mechanical offsite fabrication. Help me. Help me
Mhm.
understand it. Help me
Yeah.
understand what I need to know. I do not need to be an expert, but I need to understand, am I buying skids? Am I getting racks? What am I doing? And how does that help me?
Yeah.
As an architect, you do not understand constructability in most cases, but you understand the intent of the owner and why you designed it that way. So How do we bridge those gaps? It's conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's connection. It's in a vulnerable environment, and then you say, "Okay, great, explain it to me." And they explain it to me, and then you go, "Okay, I want you to take a few minutes, and how can you do something," this is the local, "in your day-to-day that could have a positive impact on that?" Do your own Lego and connect it, and then talk to everybody at the table about it.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, all of a sudden, not only do I have a perspective on it, I have a deep understanding of sort of their approach to it.
Mhm.
And now I see how it all connects. And at the end of the day, there's perception and perspective. And if I have the most powerful people in not a meeting, but in a team are the ones who understand and have a perception of everyone else's perspective. I know what's important to you in your business. I know what you care about because in the end, we all have businesses to run and money to make.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's okay. That's not bad. That's important, right? It's the fuel. But so I understand that. So I have a perspective on it. And I have a perception of your perspective. Now when we're having a conversation, I understand why you might push back on certain things or why certain things are important to you. Now we're working together, and the Legos just unlock that. They
Yeah.
really do. It's just a matter of using your hands. By the way, using your hands for anything. It's why construction folks are so creative because they use their hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Well, it's, I think construction, the built environment is the ultimate team sport. And it's teams of teams that come together. And one of the things that's always fascinated me is the fact that you can have two businesses that are competitors on one project and are teammates on another project. And it has to change your perception of the people that you're competing with when tomorrow you may be, pitching work with them. And I think the other thing that you're talking about, Jeff, is this, we call it the WIFM, the what's in it for me. And
Mm.
when you can think about what's in it for the other person and and genuinely think about it from a not an antagonistic perspective, right? I think sometimes when we're looking for change or when we want to influence people to do something a certain way, then their behaviors become something that is a negative that needs to be overcome. When in reality, most of the time, there's a perfectly good reason why somebody is doing something a certain way or has a certain mindset or an outcome that they're looking for. And when we want to make change happen, or we just want to work together on solving a problem, but we don't take that into consideration, we're going to be paddling upstream the entire time because we're working against somebody else's own interests. It's one of the fundamentals of negotiation is you have to understand what the other person actually wants to get, and you have to
Mhm.
come up with a way for them to win at the same time that you're winning.
That
Um,
you nailed it. I love the whiff 'em. What's in it for me? Go back to your change management. That's the number one thing that
right.
leadership can figure out is a lot of technology advancements and needs are getting data to say the C-suite to understand the performance of the business across all projects or, across all anything you have in your organization, right? So, but that doesn't really matter to the person in the field that's now gotta do this thing. But
Yeah.
if
Mhm.
you can be out there and talk to them about, "Hey, listen, this is really important because it's how we bid on work. It's how we understand where you are on budget. That budget means that I can keep employing you. I can get you on the next job." A lot of tradespeople, they float in between and there's downtime. It's like, "Hey, I need to know the hours in your time card and the crew because I'm predicting my labor in the future and I don't want you to have gaps." So the more powerful and more accurate the information, the more I can do for you.
Yeah.
So that's the with them. That's going out there and telling them why I need you to do this, what's in it for them in the end.
Yeah.
Those 2 things should coexist, Jerry. They absolutely should, and I love the what you brought up about, construction on one job, we're JVing together, on another job, we're competing with one another. I call that, and Simon Sinek calls that worthy rivals.
Mm,
We need worthy rivals,
yeah.
and the easiest place and I think we're a little bit further along, but I think if you dig into certain markets, we're not as far along in, say, the prefabrication and offsite construction.
Mhm.
This is where I tell a mechanical or an electrical, like, you wanna compete toe to toe with those other groups that are doing fab and that are doing offsite and that are really changing the way work's done. The people you wanna watch out for are the ones who are say, "Oh, we'll do it the old way for cheaper." In the end, it's not cheaper, it's not
Right.
better, and it's a rising tide that lifts all ships because, again, if I'm 2 mechanicals fighting each other regularly and then we have a JV on a data center project, because neither of us can handle the scope.
Yep.
Well, but if you're a stick build and I'm a fabricator, this is not a good partnership.
Right.
Maybe. I mean, maybe one takes over, but you probably don't have the shop capacity.
Yeah.
Also, work ebbs and flows. You're gonna win one, and then you can't win the next one. All right, so you know who the other great ones in your network are. Help them out,
Yeah.
and it makes us all better.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? It's interesting because when you think about it, you're right. I mean, so many times a lot of these things are our strategy lives like in the C-suite or that's where we think it is. And yet the boots on the ground, the people that's really what being the culture, the people doing the work. And I think it's very easy to have this disconnect of one group who thinks they're sort of kind of planning a strategy and seeing a direction, and there's this other group that's actually doing the work, and that's kind of their experience and their culture. How do we bridge that gap, Jeff, between a sort of leadership strategy and that very thing that the people who are actually going to execute and are doing the stuff, and it's their kind of their culture and their initiatives.
People listening are gonna want me to say, "Have a big organizational get together, do a big virtual meeting, and have everybody turn their cameras on."
Right.
No, that does
Yeah.
not work. It's actually in the little things. It's in all the little things. It's in how you bonus people. It's in what you provide to them and for perks,
Mm.
right? Are you buying enough safety glasses? Are you buying enough high vis vests? Are you looking at the latest hard hats? Are you are you sending off if they're coming in to the job site and drinking old burnt coffee and you're giving Starbucks to everybody in your office, you're missing the boat.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I mean that wholeheartedly. Show up, like you said, that super doing the meal,
Yeah.
somebody let them do that. Somebody's funding that. Fund it. Put your money where your mouth is. The funny thing about productivity, about dedication, about creativity is you get 10 times of what you give.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So if that job site has what it needs, if your employees have what they need, the training they need, the time off that they need, and also the recognition. And again, this is not a freaking email, right? It's not a PowerPoint. It's not a virtual. If you win a project award, go bring the super. Don't take you and your COO and take the thing at the big one where you get all the stakes to yourself.
Mhm.
Bring them. Show them that you care.
Yeah.
Send them off to train. By the way, that's the other thing. We in this industry are so, and in every, especially right now, in every industry, we are so busy being busy. You're working in the business and not on the business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Take a step back and give people, not just yourself, time to reflect, but your project managers, your superintendents, and even those true post-mortem jobs. And, I'm really fascinated with the opportunity too that's how you show that investment back in people is
Mhm.
taking their feedback. And don't just take their feedback and leave it on a shelf. There is this thing that people get worried about if I ask for everything and then I can't work on everything, people are gonna feel unheard. Say that up front. Like,
Yeah.
"I want your feedback. I'm not gonna be able to fix everything." Like, "Listen, I can't fix the road on the way to work. It's just not
Yeah.
my thing," right? But,
Yeah.
hey, if you have no parking, I have an opportunity to fix that. If parking every day is, like, an absolute mess, yeah, there's something I can fix.
Mhm.
Um, those are the things. Employee benefits are a big thing. The more somebody cares, doesn't have to worry about their healthcare costs, doesn't have to worry about daycare, doesn't have to worry about the little things, the more time they have to focus.
Mm,
And that focus, that dedication, that comes back in spades. You can't buy that. It's not you can't. Right? You have to show up and
Yep.
provide those things.
yeah.
Yep.
This has been
Right.
such a great conversation, and I kind of want to, as we're nearing the end of it, I want to look a little bit into the future, and this idea of culture and how brands evolve. And we're deep now into the AI era, and it's having all kinds of impact. As you put on your crystal ball, or whatever you use to kind of peer into the future, what do you think is going to change or need to change in the way that AEC firms are approaching this intersection of experience, employee experience, customer experience, culture, brand? What's the challenge that you might issue to our listeners?
Oh, we are moving into and deeper into the experience economy
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
more and more than ever before. Um, the first thing I will say is don't look at the shiny object. AI is what it is. We've had innovation and change our entire lives, our entire human history.
Yeah.
It has always outpaced the previous one. It has never delivered completely on what it said, and it's never really been it's always resulted in more than we had before. And so you have to look at it that way. And to all the brands out there, stop talking about your AI. That's like
Yeah.
talking about the gas that I use in my car. I'm sick of it. What can you do for my experience as a business? How
Right.
does your wisdom, especially though, don't drop the reality that AI is allowing us to generate code and create solutions at a much more rapid pace.
Yeah.
So if you're a software company, like your ability to write code's not your differentiator. Now, to be stable and to be enterprise and secure, all that, yes, that is. But your tangible benefit, your thing is your experience. It's your understanding of how they work, of how business gets done and how it gets connected and how you can be the catalyst. So we're going to
Right.
move into when I say an experience economy, we're going to move into I picked that group because not what their product does. There's three that do it. It's because they understand my business, they connect with me, and they've helped me improve
Yeah.
Mhm.
over time.
Yeah.
And that genuine brand is really important. I don't care if you're a construction company, a technology company, a design firm, an engineering firm, a consultant. Your brand is important and it has to match
Hmm.
and it has to be authentic. And that's what I think in the future too. We have much more widespread access to information. So your old ways of doing things aren't going to work.
Yeah.
So understand that, embrace it, and I mean, we could all use all the companies out there that need to embrace and fix their cultures. That
Hmm.
would be great. We have a mental health crisis in our country and in our world.
Yeah.
I think mainly because businesses don't embrace that portion
Right.
and don't do their fair share to improve it. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if I'm going to therapy at home and I'm taking care of myself and meditating. If I come into a wicked environment and it is awful and I'm ground to the bone, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
Right.
And too many people are doing that. And we have a fear mongering world around AI replacing everybody. I will tell you right now, if it replaces all of your entry level people, in 10 years, who are your senior people gonna be?
Right. Yeah.
So the cultural shift, the transformational shift is how are you going to show up differently for them, keep hiring them, keep training them, and keep making that experience available and growing your company, not just for now, but in the future. That's the one thing corporations in our world are really good at. They look at today, they make decisions on today, they forget about the future.
Right.
Remember that future. We are in that now. We have a whole generation of tradespeople that do not exist because we took trades out of high schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at it now.
Right.
If we repeat this with AI, then that's on us.
Right.
So, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes really, really closely.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
and brand is everything, man. It really is. For your personal brand, be true to yourself, keep that brand together, and then link those brands up. I think you are in a challenging world too for companies to start thinking about this. It used to be the company's brand was the thing. We're in a world of influencers, a world of influencing decisions across our market in a way that we cannot control.
Right.
But we do have great employees who work for us, and we can support them in their brands and who they are. And, I hear this all the time. Well, what if I invest in them and then they leave? Well, what if you don't and they stay?
Yeah.
Then who really wins? Like, so embrace it, invest in them, be true. And again, that doesn't come without accountability, et cetera.
Yeah.
There is guardrails. We need those. It's like raising kids, man. If you raise them without guardrails, you get feral children that don't know how to do or handle a negative review at work or getting a write up for something. They've got to be ready for accountability as well. So that's that truth in branding to me that's really important.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I really love what you were saying about the investing in people. And I think the thought that I would add to that beyond what if you don't invest in them and they stay, which is such a powerful, powerful thought. But the other thing is, are you investing in them because they are an asset in the way that you do maintenance on on a tractor? Or are you investing in them because you care about them as a human being? Right? If you care about them as a human being, then the net benefit to society of you investing in them and the net benefit to them as a human far outweighs whether or not they stay or don't. And by the way, if you invest in them as a human, far more likely that they recognize how you are valuing them as a
Yeah.
human and choose to stay because most other companies are going to value them as an asset at best.
Jerry, we've always said don't be afraid to create alumni.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It,
Exactly.
it's really important. And I'm really glad that you brought that out, Jerry, because it really isn't about maintaining a vehicle and just, checking the boxes and making sure you change the filters. It is really a true investment in them personally,
Yeah.
and it needs to come from that place of true caring, true empathy. The future leaders of our world are empathetic people
Yeah.
who are who connect with that workforce. I think more and more in the AEC space, we see this. There is a war for talent,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
If you are an
Yeah.
semi-experienced person anywhere in this chain, you're writing bigger checks than you ever could before.
Right.
And I think that goes to, in the end, the companies that truly are embracing that, people won't wanna leave. I used to say this all the time as a consultant, like, "I'm gonna give you everything you need to leave me, because
Yep.
I want you to stay because you want to,
Yeah.
because you
Mhm.
want to work with me, because you value me." And by the way, that means somebody comes to your company, Carl, they do not fit your culture. They do not fit, but that doesn't mean you don't care about them. That doesn't mean you don't want them to be successful.
Right.
So again, like you said, you're an alumni, you moved on, you went and found your greatest thing. That's great. Other people are gonna see that and say, "Hey, that didn't work for that guy, but hey, I might really like this."
Right.
And
Yeah.
they end up over there, and then you end up with people who value your organization and are gonna really outperform the others, and we are in that. I talk to construction companies about this, and across the AECO space, we have this kind of innovation theater that
Mhm.
exists where you're saying it all on the outside, and then when I show up at the job site, it's all paper. The
Mhm.
two things need to match one another.
Right.
The way you describe yourself and the way you show up have to be contiguous. And Jerry, you hit that before, but it has to be at every level. It has to
Right.
be in your technology stack, in your people stack. And by the way, investing in HR, investing in services and support,
Mhm.
IT people, service HR people, payroll people. I hear this over and over. We don't value those people who do those things that we require. I mean, I remember sitting with an AP processor, and she was having a problem and her being like, "Oh, you're so smart, I don't know." And I'm like, "Listen, I don't get paid. We don't process invoices without you, and I can't do that. You don't want me doing that either."
Yep.
So again, supporting everybody in the organization and understanding that it takes this complicated village to run a construction
Mhm.
company of any type, but then a complicated village of villages to run a project.
Right.
And if we're all showing up with our own unique culture, but one of connection, one of validation, one that we can get behind, then our teams are going to storm, norm, and perform a lot faster and a lot better. And it's not about how you act when it's good. It's every construction project hits a snag of some sort. There's
Yep.
never one that's ever gone the way it exactly was supposed to. And
Really?
it's in that moment that we all figure out whose cultures are what and whose match up.
Right.
And if we reach out our hands, pick each other up, and go, now we've changed this.
Yeah.
And now we also can turn to the rest of the world, by the way, where you're seeing layoffs everywhere
Hmm.
and say, hey, by the way, how many people in large technology companies are being let go at a rapid rate right now? Go get them.
Yeah.
They are your data scientists. They are there, and they will be grateful that this is the greatest industry in the world because we build the world around us. You
Right.
don't get to be Meta or AI or Google or anybody if we don't build the data centers that you operate in.
And the office
If we
buildings
don't
you
build
work
the
in.
roads and bridges,
Yep.
you don't get to work. So,
Or have
and you
fun.
don't get fresh water.
Yeah.
So that's us. Come to us.
Yeah.
But we as an industry need to embrace this change. That's my biggest thing is embrace that change because that's what's going to take you into the next level.
Mhm.
I I think that's the perfect
Good.
takeaway for this episode. I appreciate that so much. So,
Yeah, it's
so
great.
Carl, I think you have a question that
I
you like to
I
ask.
I do, Jeff. Obviously, you're a wealth of information. Curious as we wrap up, is there a book or a podcast that you're certainly, kind of involved in or paying attention that you'd recommend for our audience?
So I am a huge Adam Grant and Brene
Mm,
Brown fan. I believe both of them are completely misunderstood. So don't just look at the titles, read the books,
Hmm.
okay.
listen to the podcasts. They just started one, and I think it's called the Curiosity Project. It's the two of them together,
Oh, wow.
really hashing out some difficulties they had between each other and showing how people can show up with differing opinions in ways that work together. Adam Grant's book, Think Again, changed my life when it came to this. It happened to be at the same time somebody said, the group talked about Legos and changing it.
Hmm.
Think Again's the number one way you can't preach, you can't politic, you can't lawyer somebody into changing.
Yeah.
You've got to really appeal to them and appeal to their ideas and their sensibilities. So Adam Grant, Brene Brown, then their new podcast, and of course, I got to say, come check out the ConTechCrew. We try to live this
Of course.
on the show, but we are what we are. If you're going to go out in the bigger world, those are my favorite one. And in the built environment, coolest book I ever read was How Big Things Get Done.
Mm.
Mhm.
Read that book. It will change your perspective on we've had the answer for a really long time. We just are failing to implement it.
Yeah. Well, we'll put
Yeah.
all of those in the show notes. And while we're adding things to the show notes, where can folks find you online?
Hit me on LinkedIn. That's my favorite place to be. I'm very
Okay.
active there. Just my personal profile. If anything I say connects with you, connect with me.
Great.
And then check out the Content Crew on LinkedIn as well and YouTube. So youtube.com/ at the Content Crew are the places to find me.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Intangible Brand. I hope you found value in today's conversation. I know that I definitely did. And if you did, please take a moment to subscribe or follow us on your favorite podcast platform. The support that we get from all of you is what helps us to continue to bring these discussions to everyone.
And if you're happen to be watching on YouTube, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. It's a way in which it helps others discover the show and join this community.
And, we'd love to hear your thoughts about today's episode or any episode or even ideas for future episodes. If you've got feedback or questions, hit us up at hello@theintangible.brand.com.
And you can always connect with us on LinkedIn or visit our website at theintangible.brand.com for more resources and information about the show.
And as always, thank you all for joining us on The Intangible Brand. And remember, as we discussed today, the strongest brands are built on the experiences that they create, both for their clients and for their teams.